You're starting to see the corruption, and it's being proven now. The mainstream media is not paying attention to this. But once this starts to come out in open hearings, I don't think they're going to be able to avoid it. You'll see President Biden get sick, step down, something to keep this buried as much as possible.
You know, I love how quickly the tide can turn, especially when you're dealing with Republicans. Because just a week ago, Republicans were telling us, Marjorie Taylor Greene specifically, said that the evidence they have allegedly uncovered is not only going to lead to President Biden's impeachment, but she said it's going to put him behind bars.
That yesterday, when we walk out of a skiff in the Capitol and bring out the most damning, credible evidence against Joe Biden, impeachable offenses, and I'll argue this, he should have been hauled out of the White House yesterday in handcuffs. But instead, what was the news cycle last night? That they have indicted President Trump for mishandling classified documents? You should be outraged. This is good, because I'm with you.
She said, dude's going to jail because we've got this information from the FBI.
Impeachable offenses, and I'll argue this, he should have been hauled out of the White House yesterday in handcuffs.
Marjorie Taylor Greene told us last week that President Biden was going to go to jail. It's actually her guy that's probably going to jail, but either way, she said, dude's going to jail.
Was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China.
CBS News has learned that more than 150 transactions involving either Hunter or James Biden's global business affairs were flagged as concerning by U.S. banks for further review. Some of those concerns included large wire transfers.
Because we've got this information from the FBI, we've got this whistleblower, and by the way, we've got tapes. And then in the days after that, other Republicans, including Republican Senator Ron Johnson, came out and said, we got 17 tapes. 17 tapes.
He's a compromised president. It's pretty obvious. I think it's pretty obvious that his family is corrupt, that Hunter Biden committed multiple felonies, that the FBI did not do a thorough investigation. It's certainly not an honest prosecution. But that's the state of affairs right now here in the Capitol and our major news media who just continue to cover up for the Bidens.
17 tapes of this alleged Biden corruption where he got $5 million from Burisma in exchange for firing that state prosecutor that wasn't going after Burisma the way he was supposed to be going, by the way. As Republicans have distorted the entire story so that people forget what actually happened. The global community wanted that prosecutor in Ukraine fired.
What was their big sell when all of this came out was that it wasn't just Joe Biden thought this. It was the consensus of all countries. Like all of the civilized world understood that this guy was corrupt.
So we've had now the documents from the State Department saying that's not true. Okay, at the time, they're writing how great this guy's doing.
As Republicans have distorted the entire story so that people forget what actually happened. The global community wanted that prosecutor in Ukraine fired.
And now we have evidence from the EU, where the EU concluded Shokin had met benchmarks on anti-corruption reforms. In fact, it's pretty glowing what they write about.
The global community wanted that prosecutor in Ukraine fired.
The European Commission in new documents said, based on these commitments, the anti-corruption benchmark is deemed to have been achieved. This is from the governing body of anti-corruption. It was a generally rosy assessment of Ukraine's pace of reforms, according to the efforts of Shokin's Prosecutor General's office.
The global community wanted that prosecutor in Ukraine fired because he wasn't going after corruption. And he wasn't investigating Burisma, by the way.
Bullshit! Why were you looking into Burisma?
The reason I oversaw the Burisma case was because I was the prosecutor general. Burisma was an ordinary case.
And he wasn't investigating Burisma, by the way.
It was on a list of cases to merit special attention because Hunter Biden was involved with Burisma, and of course his father, the Vice President Biden at the time, oversaw Ukraine affairs for the White House.
The global community wanted that prosecutor in Ukraine fired.
The State Department, the White House, George Soros, and the EU all said the guy was doing a great job.
This week, Republican lawmakers, including Ron Johnson, by the way, who last week was like, "Oh boy, we got him."
Well, let's face it, Joe Biden has been lying through his teeth to the American public for years. He's a plagiarist. By the way, the news media has known he and his family have been profiting off the Biden name for years. Senator Grassley and I laid most of this out in our September 2020 report. It was ignored. We were vilified. We were accused of spreading Russian disinformation.
Are going out there in conservative media, they're going on Fox News, they're going on Newsmax, and they're telling the hosts, whoa, 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 we don't even know if any of this is legit.
So again, we're getting more pieces of the puzzle. We're getting confirmation of what we've already known. We're getting a few more details.
Whoa, 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 whoa. We don't even know if any of this is legit.
But none of this is a surprise to me. I've known that Joe Biden is corrupt, that he's a proven liar, that he's unfit for office. But once again, when most Americans get their news through either news feeds through the big tech social media giants who are a bunch of radical leftists themselves, through the mainstream media who are a bunch of advocates for the Democrat Party, that's what we get in terms of our politics.
They're making this shit up as they go, folks. That's what's happening. They're getting so worked up in their own minds, they're creating these alternative realities, they're spewing them on conservative media, and then they finally realize, like, oh crap, we can't do that.
Get corrupt individuals that are Democrats that are pushing more government and less freedom, and Americans, unfortunately, too many of them are buying it.
There is a reason Republicans are now out there telling everybody, whoa, 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 temper your expectations. We don't even know if any of this is real. And it's because of what's happened in that House of Representatives for the last 6 months. Those Republicans came into office swearing up and down, we're going to get the weaponization committee, we're going to get the Hunter Biden investigations, we're taking out everybody, and they've done nothing.
House Oversight Chair James Comer is now questioning whether other Biden family members did not pay their taxes on the millions of dollars funneled through those 20 shell companies they set up to take in the cash flows from overseas. Your report and Senator Grassley's report found that out too.
And they've done nothing.
Realize it's not normal for a vice president's family to receive millions and millions of dollars from foreign nationals, and for the vice president, now our current president, to not be able to identify one single thing that the family members did to receive the money.
Oh, they've held tons of hearings. They've embarrassed themselves thoroughly to the point where even Fox News has called them out for being failures. And that's what they're trying to avoid in this situation.
We're talking about Joe Biden took money from our enemies. And you look at all the investigations of presidents in the past, you look at the impeachments of various presidents, nothing has ever been about a president taking bribes, a president's family on the take, a president's family violating the laws, and this president's administration at every turn and every agency covering it up.
They know they've got nothing, and so now they're trying to walk back their statements from just a week ago when they were promising us that President Biden was like just a couple weeks away from going to prison.
I think this is one of the most serious political scandals in my lifetime. I can't think of anything worse from a politician at this high of a level. And I think the American people have seen this. And I think that the Biden administration and the Biden spokespeople, they have had ample time to try to explain where the money came from and why Joe Biden wasn't truthful about all the times he said he never met with or spoke to any of these crooks in these adversarial countries who have been sending his family millions and millions of dollars.
And they've done nothing.
I am your voice.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
You sound like a bitch, nigga.